What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday evening. A great beginning to the week. Let's dive on in to see if we can get some more work done on Senior Rainer here and see if we can't get him mostly finished. We've been working on him for a couple of streams now and put a lot of time in on him for kind of what I was initially planning. Wasn't quite expecting to spend this much time on him, but I really wanted to work up a decent paint job on him, and it's just taking a little bit longer. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. One of the things I want to do is push the highlights on the black armor a little bit higher than what we had. Originally, we'd only gone up to neutral, kind of a neutral gray. I want to push it a little bit beyond that, but not by much. Not by a whole lot, because I don't want the neutral gray highlights to compete with the lighter gray the panels that are actually supposed to be colored light gray. I don't want the highlights to compete with those. I want those to be distinct sections of color. So we're gonna do some very, very small areas with this lighter gray to try and find a little bit of highlight in onto the black areas here to get them a little bit punchier. Just a little bit. We're going to be focusing towards the end of the highlights rather than in the middle. It's going to, because the end of the highlights tend to flare out a little bit to either side, so we've got a little bit more room, and it looks more interesting that way. Here a little bit. And we're just intensifying small sections of the highlights, small areas, so that they stand out just a little bit more. This process shouldn't take too terribly long, and then we can move into working on his pistol's holster. Get the leather on that done. Add some color in there. Hey, DeConra, it's going well. Sorry, it took me a second to read your name there. I hope you're doing well. Happy Tuesday night. Hopefully your week has gone okay. We are getting closer and closer to Mr. Rainer being Hold on. Hey, Cookcrafter, how are you doing? Good to see you. Over on the purple site. No worries. Name is David. All right, David. Thank you much. Happy to have you here. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy just relaxing for a bit. Just chilling out. We are painting Jim Raynor from the Starcraft miniatures game. As that just got released and at Adepticon, and Jim Raynor and Kerrigan are two of my favorite characters from video games growing up playing the original Starcraft and Starcraft 2. Big parts of my childhood and early adolescence, so hey. I have to paint them, right? Like, if I've got the models, I've got to paint them. I can't not. Right? You can't just not paint Jim Raynor and Kerrigan. Hey, what's up, Jack Abbott? How are you doing? Doing good. Work's been busy, but I did a tech test for woodworking, which went well. Oh, very cool. Yeah. Over the weekend, I was able to shake it. It was pretty short, but still, I wanted to make sure I had plenty of rest, because I've noticed that as I get older, if I don't take time to actually like rest and the like, it does take longer to kick even things like colds. So, you know, it's better to take the time, even if it means I don't get to stream. It's better to take the time and properly take care of myself so that I can get over the sick faster than force myself to stream and do other stuff and then, you know, just be sick longer. Kind of a difference in priorities. That's okay. Hey, F&Z Hobbies, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Preventative rather than reactive? Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather be careful. See if we can get this focused in a little bit more. Doing great. Love the Space Marines. Was curious, is the suit going to be black or are we highlighting? This is a black suit. So Jim Raynor, his armor is black and gray, and so I've been trying to follow that to the best of my ability. So, you know, this is black. It's black armor with gray accents. Hey, yo, the Starcraft stuff out? Not entirely. They were selling all of the Starcraft stuff at Adepticon. So you might be able to find it on eBay, but most likely for really elevated prices. But the retail stuff and the stuff you pre-order has not been released yet. But this is the first thing I bought at Adepticon. You might be able to get it at Spiel this weekend. It kind of depends on which conventions they're going to. If you have any friends going to Spiel or any of the conventions in Europe coming up, they might have it there. They might also... I don't know if they're going to be at Origins. I don't think they're going to be at Origins because Origins isn't as big into miniatures right now. So I don't think that it's big enough for them to show up there. They might, but I don't think so. Almost guarantee you they're going to be at Gen Con. So, but that's at the beginning, end of July, beginning of August. So you might be able to get the stuff earlier. Looks great. Love the light placement. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that, White Moth. Were you able to get into to do that live later in the day? I think that was, what was that, last Sunday? I know you had to leave, and then you said you were gonna do a live later that day. Just didn't know how often do you go live with like group stuff like that? Because really the only time I do lives is streams like this. Well, thanks. Reorganize the hobby desk. Waiting on some FDM printed paint racks to finish printing. Nice. I need to get new paint racks or hobby organization stuff because I've got some stuff, just not anything purpose built. It's all jury rigged. But hobby desk organization is big. I really need to completely reorganize my desk, and then also like all of my pile of potential, because I've let it grow all over again. Got rid of a bunch of stuff, and now I've purchased a bunch of stuff. So now I'm back to where I was. Rainer looks great. Hey, thank you so much. Call 1412 Doom Patrol. Oh yeah. I had heard just a mini called 1490 Doom. Yeah. 1490 Doom. Wait. Oh, are you talking? Wait. Is it 1912 Doom Patrol? Because that would make sense for Trench Warfare. Because I know 1490 Doom is kind of a grimdark medieval type of stuff, and I've got some minis for that, and that looks really cool. I need to get a copy of the rules. But I also know Trench Crusade is obviously a thing. I've got a bunch of stuff for that. The Last War is a small game that's kind of like weird World War One, but World War One's kind of like taken over the world, and most of humanity's dead, like due to plagues and the like. So you're trench-bound survivors. I've not heard of anything 1412 Doom Patrol. Yeah, but 1490 Doom. Yeah. This looks nice. What faction is this? Is a Terran Space Marine. This is specifically Jim Raynor from Starcraft. Tuesday Deadshot is on. I go Wednesday, Friday, Saturday 9 p.m. Eastern. Oh, okay, gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. I'm loving Church Crusade. I wish I could have backed sooner. Yeah, that's all right. I have both of my pledges here, and I've still bought some of the Prussian stuff, and I haven't started painting any of it yet. So like, don't feel behind. I would love to see what you do with any of those. Do I have any of my? So I have one Trench Crusade mini here. The others are in my display case. Sometimes if you've got a mini sitting up in a spot, you're gonna have to give it a dusting. So this was a Trench Crusade mini that we painted up just before the I think it's the Red Brigade Kickstarter went on. This was a lot of fun. We built a base for him. I got to paint the base still, but I really enjoyed painting him up, weathering him. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun. Hey, Greedy Twins, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for popping by. Yay, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to learn how to master. Ayo, say more Jim painting for tonight? Or are you planning on painting up Kerrigan? I will be painting Kerrigan, but we gotta finish Jim. He's almost to the point where we can like go do the leather and stuff. I just really wanted to lock in his black armor with one more level of highlight, but I think we're pretty much there with him for the highlight. For the black armor, because you got to be careful. You can't push the black armor too far, because if you push it too far, then it just all starts reading gray. You got to be careful. And so I think if we pushed it too much farther, we'd start getting into the reading is gray territory, which is not where we want. Nerdy Tokyo, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We will get to your library card renewal here in just a second. Let me break out my leather colors so we can start working on Jim's holster. Because looking at the art, his holster is kind of a darker leather, but I'm gonna get out my standard leather colors here. We may go all the way with those, or we may keep it fairly dark. Base almost looks like ash. Oh yeah, made my Hero Quest base set. Oh, that's awesome. Are you playing freehanding the insignias on the armor? Yeah, his the skeleton, like the skeleton thing up here. I forget what it's called, but yes, that's the plan. That's the plan. Take your time. Hey, hope you're doing well, Nerdy Tokyo. It was wonderful to see and meet you in person at Adepticon. Also, Nerdy Tokyo gave me, while we were at Adepticon, he gave me a very cool model kit that I am terrified to try and put together. I will grab it here in a second and show it to you all, because it is both highly entertaining and also terrifying to contemplate painting. Or not even painting, just building at this point. Like, just building it's going to be intimidating. But it is brilliant. It is a very, very cool kind of gimmicky type of model. And I don't mean gimmicky in a bad way. I mean gimmicky in the best of ways. So we're going to do the body of the holster as this dark brown. The belts around the holster is dark brown. The bottom of the holster is going to be metal. And obviously the gun, the pistol, is going to be metal. But we're going to let a couple layers of this dark brown go down first. Let that dry. And then we can do the other layers. What colors am I planning for Carrion? I haven't even thought about it yet. I've seen a bunch of really good colorations for her. Like, I believe in Starcraft 1 she was a lot more green, a lot more olives and pale bone colors, whereas in Starcraft 2 I think she had a lot more purples integrated. I really like the Starcraft 2 look. Like, I like the brown of the brown of the carapace, the hints of purple, and also the greens and paler colors. I enjoy that complexity. So we'll probably shoot for that. But I need to do more. I need to do more reference. I when I'm painting characters that actually like exist and aren't out of my head, I get lots of references and study those. You look like you work at Best Buy. I was actually rejected from working from Best Buy over 10 years ago when I was looking for another part-time job. I have full-time career employment at a big boy finance job now, but at the time, I was actually automatically rejected from their hiring process for whatever reason, because they never tell you. It was all automated. How to make not thick marine. How make not thick marine? I don't understand the question. This is not a space... Well, this is a space marine, but it's not a Games Workshop space marine. This is a Starcraft space marine, which are a little bit more slender, I guess. I guess you could say they're a little bit more slender. So give me a second. I'm gonna find something real fast. Okay, because it is entertaining, this is what Nerdy Tokyo gave me at Adepticon. This is squid sushi. It is a model kit. Those are indeed rice grains. So these are pre-colored, so you don't have to paint them if you don't want to, but here is this slice of squid. It's a 2-part piece. You glue the bottom into there to get the dimensionality there. And then you slowly, carefully cut each individual grain of rice and build the rice underneath the squid for the squid sushi. So that might be. All the pictures just show one. So I don't know. And there's no instructions. So I'll probably need to do some research. Plastic model kit. There's, using plastic glue. Yeah, there's no actual instructions. So it might be 2 pieces, but it might also, because they're not exactly the same. This has got more texture on the top. This has got more texture. This doesn't have that same texture here. So if they were exactly the same for 2 pieces, I'd expect similar textures. But I'll have to look it up. I'll have to see what I can find.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives
precisely when he means to. Soggy Bog! Grackle Raid! Soggy Bog, welcome on in. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in, everybody. Soggy, how was your stream? What'd you do? What'd you work on? It was a pleasure meeting you at Adepticon. Glad to see you hanging out here, and hope the raids the raids are going well and the streams are going well. Let's see. Oh no, it's Spackle Grackles. Oh, it's Spackle Grackles raid. Oh, I'm so sorry, Spackle Grackle. Thank you so much for the raid. I am so sorry. I'm gonna pretend like I don't exist right now. I am so sorry. You are painted your Warcry terrain. Ooh, which set of terrain is it? So Warcry's got some fantastic terrain. It's got some wonderful, wonderful stuff. I maintain that the original Warcry terrain set is the best out of all of them. And I really wish they had made that available again, because I think more and more people should be playing with that, because it is a fantastic set. I was finally able to get another copy of it, or a copy of it. I missed out on it initially. And it's wonderful. It's glorious. It's Red Harvest. Oh, okay. It's okay, my ears weren't on yet. Okay, so I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean? What do you mean? I obviously didn't make any mistake about who made the raid. Obviously. That would be silly. Like, I've been streaming since 2018. Like, I wouldn't make a mistake like that. Who said I made a mistake? Soggy, you said I made a mistake. Why would you do that? Why? I'm kidding. How dare. How dare. Wizard doesn't make mistakes. Exactly. Wizard doesn't make mistakes. I don't understand why Soggy is accusing me of doing something that I obviously did not do. If a wizard's made a mistake, they'd be useless, wouldn't they? Oh. That's potentially a problem there. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is the Useless Wizard. otherwise known as Ryan. I paint miniatures, and I used to teach at the Wizard School of Magic, but then they figured out that I'm a useless wizard, so they sent me down here to the Great Library, where I act as kind of like a librarian, but also monitoring guests and students such as yourselves, making sure you don't get in too much trouble down here in the Great Library, because it can be dangerous. It is obviously a magical library. So, you know, it's not entirely safe all the time, but generally we're okay. We paint all kinds of miniatures here. Right now we are working on a Starcraft miniature for Jim Raynor. And then later on, once he's done, we'll be working on Kerrigan, because of course we are, because it's Jim and Kerrigan. How could you not? If you're, I grew up with Starcraft, so kind of have to do it. But other than that, we paint lots of Warhammer. We paint a lot of small indie games. I'm working on 2 indie games, and will eventually be painting models for those. So yeah, we stay busy with lots of nerdy stuff here. Can you give me a good way to do flesh tones? I'm doing some AOS stuff, and they show a lot of skin. They do show lots of skin. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do flesh tones. There are so many ways that you can do flesh tones. Do I have a good example, Mini? Yes, I do. So the easiest way... Let me grab out the right paints for this. The easiest way and a good foundational way to start this process. Where'd my peach go? Good. Easiest way to do this is to have a couple different flesh tones. Generally, you want a darker flesh tone, and then you want kind of a medium flesh tone. So I'm going to start with shadow flesh and tan flesh. It doesn't matter what paint line you're using. This is a very simple way to do this without only doing a base coat and wash. So we've got like this guy here, right? So I'm going to take my shadow flesh, which is my darker of the 2 skin tones, and I'm just going to slather this all over the skin. If I need to be careful, I can, be careful where it goes, but we're going to slather this all over the area. And I'm not going to do the whole thing because I don't want to paint the whole mini as just an example, but you got an idea for it. Now you let that dry. And if you got a hair dryer or something like that, you can hit it with a hair dryer. I'm using the air from an airbrush without any paint to speed that up. And if you have to do a couple different layers, that's fine. But once you do this, you're going to hit it with a wash or a shade. If you've got Citadel paints, the washes are called shades. Not a contrast. I mean, you could use a contrast. Contrasts are a lot more intense than these are, than shades are. So I want to make sure this is entirely dry, and I'm just blasting it with air. A hair dryer is perfect for this. Mine's over there. It's not plugged in because I obviously don't use it that often. Now I'm going to use a wash, like a flesh wash. And this is Monument. This is Pro Acryl's Flesh Wash. It's kind of a reddish brown. Citadel has their own washes that can be used for this. But I'm not going to dilute it at all, and I'm just going to slap this on. It is going to make his skin darker. But what this does is it flows down into the into the edges, or like into the crevices of the model, right? And what that does is it adds shadows. It's a really easy, fast way to make shadows, and you can already see that you've got some pretty decent skin looking there. Once this dries, washes take a little bit longer to dry. I promise this is almost done, everybody. Just hold on. But this is good fundamentals if you're looking for a nice, fast way to paint skin. And this is a darker skin. We're just gonna let all this dry. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that flesh wash. No, it's okay. It's all right, Josh. That's what this is for. That's why I stream. I stream to educate. I stream to answer questions. My streams are not here for the sole purpose of like, hey, look how good of a painter I am. That's not why I stream. I primarily stream to educate and to encourage. So your question is not out of place at all. This is just taking a little bit to dry. So, all right. So now that is done, I'm going to come back in with my shadow flesh. Right, so the shadow flesh was the original color I used. Then I hit it with a wash, and I'm going to come back in with shadow flesh, and I'm just going to hit the top parts of the model. And I can look at this from the top, and I can kind of see, okay, the top of his head, areas that are going to be exposed to the sun. Right, he's got some lines on his forehead, his nose, his cheekbones, his ears. So now I'm lightening things back up because that wash darkened everything down. I could do the same thing on his muscle groups here, like his biceps, his forearm muscles, his triceps, his deltoids, and I can just choose those muscle groups and go back over them with my original color. And I'm just painting the tops of those, right? Now, once that's dry, I can then take my even lighter color, my tan skin, and I can make sure that's kind of thin, and I can start working on the same areas just a little bit smaller. Now, if you want to keep his skin fairly dark, you could not do this at all. Like, you don't have to go this bright necessarily. You could just do shadow flesh, wash, shadow flesh, and then boom, done. That would be good enough for the tabletop, right? This is just if you want him to be a little bit brighter, if you want a little bit more definition on him. This would be something you can do, and you could go even brighter with this. And so now I'm going to only to the very tops of these muscle groups. Only to the very top sections of these muscle groups. And this might look a little rough, but that's okay. It's more important that the colors look good and you got that definition, because you can always refine this later. You can smooth this out later. It's not that important to get it smooth right now. This is a lot more of a sketch than anything else. Nose is itchy. And once this dries, we can do some more blending, we could do some more layering, things like that, to get things to kind of look a little bit smoother. But basically just doing a flesh color and then a wash and then that flesh color again. That's a good starter way to do skin. And then if you want to add more to it and be more sophisticated and add more layers and stuff to it, you can start working this up into brighter and brighter. And then I'll even go in and I'll add some red to the nose. I'll add some red to the cheeks just to give it a little bit more life. I'll use a smaller brush and then do things like the lower eyelids and then his eyes. Really depends on how far you want to go. And if you want to know like really good ways to learn where a lot of this goes, watch portrait like videos on how to paint portraits. Also watch makeup tutorials. I am 100% serious. Watch makeup tutorials, contouring especially, because contouring is all about adding in artificial shadows and artificial highlights to give the face a different shape than what it normally does, or to enhance its natural shape. So watching makeup tutorials is a fantastic way to learn a lot more about, where are good places to emphasize different parts of the face and bone structure and things like that. So I'm 100% serious. 100% serious that makeup tutorials are huge. They help a lot, especially painting women's faces. That's just really, really fast. It takes a lot more. It takes a lot more refining. This is very, very rough. There'd be a lot more blending that I would want to do, but this is just very, very, very basic. How did my golden demon go, Viking Katie? I got a notable pin. It was really good for a rough outline. Thanks. How am I going to make the eyes not look like derp? That's a great question. So what I do is I start with black and I hold my breath and I go right over where the eye is. So I start with black and then I'll use something like an olive, an ivory or an olive skin tone. I never ever use white. Eyes are not white. Eyes are yellowish or ivory. White eyes looks wrong. So don't use white when you're painting eyes. Hey, thank you, Spackle Grackle. What? How are you?
We love casting spells.
Thank you, Spudster. So once I've done the black, then I will take some of that off-white. I zoomed in all the way. There we go. And I've got a very little bit of on a brush, and I'm not using a tiny, tiny, tiny brush for this, because I need the paint to last a while. And then I just come in here very, very carefully, holding my breath. Add a little bit of white there with leaving some black around it, almost like mascara. Do the same thing on the other side. Just leave a little bit of the black showing, just so that the eye pops out from the rest of the face. And then what I do with the pupils is it's important that the pupils touch either the top or the bottom, or both the top and the bottom of the eyes. Pupils and the iris should never have white around them entirely. If they look all the way, if they have white all the way around them, then they're like this. right? They're like scared or something like that. That's not what we want. So what I do is I kind of look at their eyes, kind of the direction that I want them to be looking, and I go in straight in. I draw a line from top to bottom. I don't do a dot. I draw a line. And like magic, he has eyes. And they don't look derpy. It is literally black, off-white, line down the middle. That is literally what you're doing. Now, there's a lot of muscle control, and you don't want too much paint on your brush. You want a very small amount of paint on your brush. That takes practice. Getting that feel takes practice, okay? But once you've got that, it's fairly straightforward to make his eyes look non-googly-eyed, right? Boom, there we've got we did skin and we did his eyes. Right there. And if we wanted to, we could give him a little bit more life. I think this one's open, right? Nope. We could give him a little bit more life by glazing on some red in a couple spots and a little bit of... I'm getting completely distracted now, but this I think I'm really excited about this because I love explaining this. If we do a very, 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 very tiny amount of red and get that very, very, very thin, like I'm talking like watercolor thin, right? Like nothing. We just want this to show up just a little bit. We can put that on his nose, and we can put that up here on his cheeks. And when that dries, you're barely going to notice it's there. But your eyes will see that there's some flush to the skin and the cheeks and the nose, and that looks more realistic. Look, I've got flush here in my cheeks. I've got flush on my nose. And that just makes the skin look more alive. And it's just like a little bit of dirty paint water that's all red. And it's a tiny amount here on each cheek and the nose. And you don't want him to look like a clown, right? So it's got to be really, really thin. But this is a very, very fast, easy way, once you've practiced, to get decent skin and paint non-googly eyes and make him still look alive. And you could take that same red, again, very, very thin. You can go over his lips. Because your lips are mucous membrane, right? So they should, you can't see it because of my mustache, but my lips, they're very pink, right? You can use that same red to go over his lips and make his mouth look more alive too. Make it look more and more like he's an actual living person. I hope that was helpful. And please do not worry about distracting me or taking me away from the main project. That is all secondary. Answering questions and encouraging people is my primary goal for streaming. Hey, Midnight Ghoul, we are still working on Jim Raynor. Now, we just had some questions about, how to quickly paint, basic skin and how to make eyes not look googly-eyed, so we just did those demos. But here we're working on Jim Raynor from Starcraft. We've got his armor almost done, so now we're working on his pistol, and I do want to do his eyes really quick. Dang, bro, the complexion is amazing. Thank you. And this is a lot more colors. Like I've added, I did the same kind of thing, but I went in brighter with a slightly more yellow color for the forehead, because if you look at portraiture, there are color zones to the face that the skin is shifted towards that color. So the forehead is shifted yellow because skin is naturally kind of like, peachish yellowish. The right around here, around the nose and the cheeks, there's a lot more blood vessels to the surface, so it flushes. And then down here, because it's in shadow, but also because on min of a 5 o'clock shadow, it tends to tend towards hinted slightly blue. So we did that here. We got yellow. Then we've got more ruddy features around the cheeks and the nose, and then I added in 5 o'clock shadow around his face. Around his lower face. So we're following the rules of portraiture there, and it really does help. Can I make a wash with my paint as a beginner, or should I buy wash? No, you could absolutely make a wash with your paint as a beginner, 100%. It might not work exactly the same way, because washes have additives to them that make them flow, that do more to flow into the crevices than regular paint does. But if you take some a tiny amount of Windex or possibly like dish soap, take a tiny amount of that, add that into the water that you're going to use to make your wash, that the surfactants in that, the things that break the surface tension of the water, which is what Windex and other things do. It's how it helps avoid streaks and dots, is it breaks the surface tension of water. Add a little bit of that to the water that you're going to use to make your wash, and then use that, and that will help the wash go into the crevices more. Did you make him emo? Well, I've got to paint his eyes, but he's Jim Raynor. Like, he's got black hair. He's got this is how they styled his head. This is how they styled his hair. This is them. This is all their fault. If anybody made him emo, it's them. Hey, I'm new to Warhammer. Just got done painting my first kit and first Ultramarines. Any tips? There are so many tips that I could give that it would eat up a lot. Is there anything specific that you're looking for, or anything specific that you are struggling with? That is too broad of a category for me right now. I'm sorry. If you had a specific question, I'd be happy to give tips or something specific that you're working quick before it becomes financially detrimental. Yeah, just don't let it become financially detrimental. Be responsible with your money. And if you have to quit in order to do that, then yeah, maybe quit. Do you generally follow the dress the figure technique, skin closest to skin, cloth, armor, etc.? FNC hobbies, yeah, generally I do, but not always. It really depends on the miniature. But generally I do, and I generally teach. When I teach people when they start, that's how I teach them to paint as well, because that is the easiest or the most friendly way to do it. All right, I gotta hold my breath here. His eyes are much smaller than the other figure's eyes were. Ugh. I'm gonna snooze the ads real quick. Hey there, do I spot a Jim Raynor? You do spot a Jim Raynor, Purple Spark. Absolutely. We're working on Jim right now, and we're doing a couple different things. I'm trying to get his eyes, but his eyes are so incredibly tiny. And they're very, very, very tiny. So we're slowly working on those. So while I let some of the touch-up paint dry, we are gonna go in here, go back to his holster here real quick, and we're gonna base coat this lighter brown. And I do see the other questions. Give me just a second to catch up on this, because do need to make progress. So give me just a second. And then we've got a break here in just a couple minutes. For those of you who don't know, this is your first time here, we do take a break, about a 3 to 5 minute break every hour, just to stand up, walk around, get some water, use the little wizard's room, all that fun stuff. So we're coming up on that first one here in just a second. Let's get that down. Okay. Okay. Does not compute yet, right? Where was question bills? I'm struggling a bit on shading, like lighter and darker colors. I can't really capture it. Yeah, so Bill, when you are like lighter, when you say you can't really capture what's happening, and slap chop is absolutely an option, but it should not be the default option, especially if somebody's trying to learn to actually paint. Slap chop is a fantastic tool, but you don't learn how to quote unquote actually work with the colors and learn color mixing or anything like that. I'm not saying it's not actually painting. It is actually painting. But there's so much that slap chop doesn't allow you to learn because it takes so many shortcuts that the end result is solid. But if you're wanting to learn like actual color theory and actual brush control and things like that, slap chop's not the greatest for that, but it is very useful. How do you keep brushes pointed? Because I just bought some and the hairs are already crazy. Tris, what type of brushes did you get? Because some brushes hold onto the points much better than others do, and it really comes down to bristle type. The two types of brushes that I tend to use are golden Taklon. The bristle is made of golden Taklon. It's a synthetic bristle, and it's got a lot of snap, so it snaps back to its tip really easily. And then the other one I use is Kolinsky Sable, and that is also, those are built to a pretty high standard, and they snap back to a tip pretty easily as well. The other thing is, I am very gentle with my brushes. When I'm painting, you can see the tip barely deflects at all. It barely bends. It's because I'm using really, really light brush strokes for the most part. So both of those help the brushes stay at a tip, but also every single time I put paint on a brush and I use the brush, I don't put paint more than a third or halfway down the bristle so the paint doesn't get down into here, because as soon as it gets down into here, you're going to lose your tip because it's going to dry down here and it's really hard to remove. And then also, once I use the brush and I come in here and I start painting, as soon as I am done, or as soon as like the paint stops functioning, like I've used it all up, I wash the brush immediately. I do not reload it with paint. I don't load it up with paint. I rinse it out first and then I load it back up with paint. So I'm continually rinsing the brush out and making sure there's no residual paint after most of the rest of the paint has been used up or has dried or is starting to dry in the brush. I get rid of it. So I just rinsed it out. And now I add more paint and I come back in. So those are two things that I do that keeps the brushes very pointy. At least those are the things that I do that I think keep the brush very pointy. Let's see. Have I painted Infinity Minis? Hey, Edu, I have painted Infinity Minis. They are pretty cool, but I don't find them interesting enough to paint them a lot. I have been painting Warcrow Minis, so I'm working on this guy now. And I've got a bunch of more Warcrow Minis. Their miniatures are really, really cool. It's also made by Corvus Belli, but I'm finding the Fantasy Minis a lot more interesting from Corvus Belli. The sci-fi ones are fine. There's some really cool ones, and I've got a few, and I've painted a few in the past. I just don't paint them very often because I don't. They're not always my vibe. Like, I might think they're cool, but they're just not something I'm super interested in painting. I did have a whole bunch of 010, the cops. And I tried painting those, and I got.
This is not a bell tower.
Ah. Let's see. Hello, can I brag and whine? It's not bad. Just
glug glug, thirsty boy.
Yeah, go for it, Everglades. As long as it doesn't take over. Let's see. I thought this was a League of Votan unit. I've never seen. I didn't realize the Starcraft minis were out. Yeah. Oh, and totally understandable. They were for sale at Adepticon. I'm sure they'll be for sale at other conventions too. But they were, the first time I saw them was at Adepticon, and they had all the minis they currently have in production or about to be in production for sale there. So I bought the 2-player starter. But I totally see how this would be, because these guys do feel a lot like Leagues of Votan in a lot of ways. And that's one of the things that I thought when the first Leagues of Votan first came out. I really liked the way they look, but they felt very distinctly Starcraft Terran to me when they first came out, and they still do to a certain extent because their shape language is very rounded. Very much like the Terrans. Like, the Terrans have lots of rounded armor plates and things like that, and so do the Votans. So their shape language is very similar, and that's why I initially thought the Votan felt very Starcraft. And yeah, I think that bears it out. So we got his leather holster there, got it banged up, got some weathering on it. There's still more metal to do here. We've got 5 minutes before I want to take a break. It's just a heads up. Let's see. I think SC is great for putting minis on the table for Slapchop. Yes. No, I 100%, Alex. I completely agree with you. Slapchop has its place and it's got a really good purpose. But for people that that purpose doesn't work terribly well for, like for people that want to paint display or just improve their painting. Slap chop's a great place to start, but it doesn't, it in and of itself does not teach you a lot of the fundamentals of a painting. Like, you would not be able to learn how to do these style of highlights, this volumetric highlighting, if you were doing only slap chop. Dry brushes do not do this. But if you don't care about that, that's fine. And slap chop fits you perfectly. That's perfectly fine. Everybody's got a different reason why they paint and a different reason why they focus on the painting skills that they do, and there's nothing wrong with that. So slap chop 100% has its purpose. Do you recommend Citadel starter kit? It's a fine starter kit. You get a few minis, you get some basic paints, and you get a brush, if I remember correctly. If we're talking about this, are we talking about the painting starter kit? Yeah, it's fine. I think there are better starter kits. I think the Army Painter starter kits are better. I think Vaiho's starter kits are better because you get more paints. Vaiho starter kit, you don't get a mini and you don't get a brush. You just get a set of paints. But they're full-size paints. The Army Painter one, you get like a fantasy mini, and I think you get a brush, but you also get some full-size paints. But yeah, if you're super dead set on 40K, then yeah, those 40K starter paint sets are great. Any tips? Yeah. So you want to paint them. So you've got them assembled. That's good. The next step is to hit them with a primer. That way the acrylic paints, whatever you end up using, the acrylic paints will actually stick to the model. So you could use hobby primers, or you could use a primer from the hardware store. But just make sure it's a spray can and it says primer. It's not a spray paint. Spray paints and primers are chemically different. You want a primer. And then once you've sprayed them with your primer, then you can start using your regular paints on them. If you are going to go with a primer, then make sure you start, if you've got a spray can, start the spray off of the model, cross the model quickly, and release off of the model. So you spray across the model, never start or end the spray on the model. It will flood with too much paint. So cross the model, start, cross, let go, start, cross, let go. Okay. If there's too much primer, you can strip it off with a bunch of different things like Simple Green, LA's Totally Awesome, or 90+% isopropyl alcohol. Those are both fairly safe options for stripping off paint. So there's a couple things. Do you have a good tip for checking to make sure your dry brush is ready to go? I've ruined a few from thinking it was good, then blam, white everywhere. Yeah, when you load up your Noti Tokyo, we still need to get your library card. When you load up your dry brush, oh my god. When you load up your dry brush, remove it off on a paper towel or something like that until you can't see any more come off. Like, you don't want to see any paint come off on the back of your hand or onto the paper towel or anything like that. Okay, and then that's when you know that you've seen. I've still got too much because it's streaking a little bit. I've still got too much on my dry brush. I've still got a little too much. So I'm also going a little too hard. Remove as much paint off of it as you think you as you can. If you think you've removed enough, keep removing more. Keep getting paint off of it. One thing you can also do is dampen the brush before you get paint on it, so that it's not bone dry. That can help keep things from being too chalky. Oh my god, I am knocking things over all over the place, and it's starting to really bug me. I've got to redo this. Okay, Nerdy Tokyo, here is your ad. Just started, or yeah. Oh, my time management skills are not great. Okay, we're gonna do this when the break is over. We're gonna be right back. I'm sorry, I've just had a whole bunch of stuff fall over, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm gonna clean up during this break. I'm gonna need some water. I'm gonna use the bathroom. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. See you in a minute. Okay. Yeah, even wizards have days. I don't know what was going on, but I was like, I need to step away. I am about to crash I'm about to crash out. So, stepped away for a second, got some water. took some stuff off of my desk and figured out a place to put it for now. And now we're back. Whew. All right, so let's... I want to try and finish his eyes here. But first, just trying to shape this brush. Sometimes a brand new brush is not perfect, and it takes a second for it to get into shape. Let's see. Have you ever absolutely raged out when you made a mistake on the final step in paint and lost it? Not on painting. Not when painting. And the reason I haven't done it when painting is because when you're painting, everything's recoverable. And you've got to make mistakes in order to learn that. So, I haven't completely lost it. Now, when I have crashed out is when I've been, like, I've been really stressed out from work, and there's just stuff all over my hobby desk, and I'm not able to focus because there's just too much on my hobby desk that I don't want there, and I need to clean it up. Or when I've knocked stuff over by accident that I shouldn't have knocked over. There's no reason why my arm should have gone over there, and I just decided to I've crashed out at those, but not when painting. Painting is recoverable, and those other things are dumb. They're easily fixed, right? But clutter does deserve rage. Okay, Dark Nova, how are you doing? All right, Nerdy Tokyo, here is your library card. Zoom this out a little bit more. So, here is your renewal stamp. Boom. Welcome back for another month. Look at that. Beautiful. If you guys can't see anything, don't worry about it. It's a magical stamp. Only wizards can see it. So, you'll see it eventually. If you hang around the Great Library long enough, you'll learn enough magic that it'll fade in. You'll see it. But let me promise you, it is beautiful. It is only becoming more and more complex each month. Layers more and more stamps on top of the previous stamps and creates a more and more sophisticated kind of stamp. So it kind of becomes more beautiful over time. And the colors are insane. The colors are absolutely gorgeous. Thanks for the honesty. Yeah, I don't want you guys to. I don't want y'all to feel like I never crash out or anything. But there are legitimately times when it was like, you know what? I'm not having a good time, and I'm gonna crash out. So there are times where that happens. 100%. All right, so we're gonna try and get the pupils here. His eye is so much smaller. Yeah, you can see some whites in his eyes. I think an easier way to do this, because his eyes are so small, I think an easier way to do this might be to leave his eyes completely black, and then instead take an even narrower brush. So this is a a Treckle Protege 1700 round, size 1. And initially I didn't like these because they're so narrow and they're so long and they don't have much of a belly, but they come to such an incredibly sharp point, and their bristles are large enough to maintain some moisture that this might allow me to do the type of precision that I want to for this. And I've used these for dark lining and the like. I wouldn't use these for like regular painting. They're far too small. But for certain things, they might work really, really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and come in here with a little bit of white on my brush. And I'm going to do... There we go. So what I did was I took this brush with this very, very thin, long bristles, and I put a little dot of white in each corner of his eye, as opposed to trying to paint the whole thing white and then do a black line down the middle, which I was having problems doing. So I went in with, and I did a little white dot in each corner of his eye, and that created kind of the needed shape of the iris. Now his eye is looking a little big, so I can fiddle around with this a little bit. There's a light spot underneath his brow that is making the eye look bigger. And then right here on the side of his nose. There we go. That's better. That's better. It's not perfect. I'm not amazing at eyes, but it's definitely better than he was. Why is that? Okay, so now I've lost a bunch of his eyebrow. Why is one eyebrow so much bigger than the other one? What was I doing? What was I smoking? That's better. Not perfect, but better. Okay. So now we're gonna do some steel. Now the colors I use to paint steel are blue black, gray blue, and white blue. So I use these blue tinged grays and whites because I like the way steel looks when it's blue. I like blued steel. I think that reads really well as steel. And I have a very difficult time getting just pure grays to read as anything other than just like stone. The halfling's leaf, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the areas that should be steel, which to my mind is the bottom of his holster down here because it's riveted into the leather. It's got rivets on it. Dun, dun. And then this buckle here with the throughput here, and then the actual body of his pistol. I was off camera there, I'm sorry. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing okay? Thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I hope those of you who had questions and got those answered were able to use those. Hopefully those were helpful. If anybody else has any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So we got that bit done. So now I'm going to mix a little bit of these two. So it's kind of halfway in between. That's a little too dark. Okay, so we got light coming from this direction and then light coming from this direction. So this direction, you know, some details. Lighter. Hey, John 316, I appreciate that. I agree with you. Yes, sir. Working on Void Birth minis again. This time they call it. Oh, very cool. FNC Hobbies. I'm wavering between hanging out on Twitch a bit more, going outside, doing grocery shopping. Touch grass, man. Touch grass. It's all good. I appreciate you being here, but touching, if you want, touching grass is always a good idea. It's too easy for us to get completely caught up in stuff indoors. It's so easy to get distracted by all that. I need to touch more grass and take longer walks. I will always encourage you to take the touch grass route, generally speaking. Thank you, John 316. Yep, I agree with you. I agree with you. But this is drive-by evangelism is an overall negative thing. I don't approve of drive-by evangelism. So we're gonna move on to something else. Hey, look at that. That's starting to look a little shiny. All right, I'm out. Have a good evening, you too. Enjoy outside. Enjoy touching the grass. Grass touching is important. We are needing to work on that a little bit. Let's smooth that out a little bit bigger. That just, oh, that is not the shape I was going for. We are going to alter this a little bit so it doesn't look like a uterus. Look at that. Look at that. There's two little bolts, two rivets, and then the edge highlight, and then where I've got the main highlights coming right down, I just painted the entire female reproductive system on Jim Raynor. At least the main portion of it. That's not what I meant to do. I'm gonna leave that there and see if anybody else notices in the future. Let's see if anybody says anything. It's like, what? Why does it look like that? Because it's funny. When someone closes a window, do they open a car door? Wow. I mean, you should open as many car doors as possible. They're a bunch of nut jobs. If you're gonna play a car gang, how would you set it up? I have no idea. I'm not familiar enough with the rules for Cawdor, and I do play Necromunda, but not as often as I would like. So I would not be able to give you any kind of like good theory crafting. There is a Cawdor game that a friend of mine ran that I did like, and so I could tell you some of what he did. He had a few bomb rats and someone wrangling those and sending those out, and that was somewhat effective. It generally was more distracting than anything else and didn't really accomplish anything. So I don't know how useful those are, but they were certainly entertaining. The ordnance crossbow They can like basically like it's a crossbow RPG. That messed my Paladin Enforcers up several times. So I'd probably definitely have one of those at least. And then the long arms, the Guardian Spear ripoffs that they have were pretty impactful. But I don't play the games as often as I would like, and so I refrain from trying to give game advice because one, I don't play, and two, even if I did play, I play based on vibes, not so much on rules or sophisticated rules in interpretations, because I'm just, that's not how my brain works. My brain doesn't brain that way. So I am not the person to ask for rules. Sorry. Lore, sure, absolutely. Painting, yeah, 100%. But rules and comparative list building and stuff like that, yeah, no, I am not the man for that. I apologize. It is simply not in my brain space. No worries. It's all a narrative of Necromunda. Yeah, it is. It is, and it's one of the reasons I really like Necromunda. It is so very, very narrative focused. It's all about the cool adventures and the cool stories that you have at the end. Yeah, we were doing an insurgency camp or an uprising campaign where basically a chaos cult or a series of chaos cults were rising in the section of the hive the underhive that we were in. I was playing Paladin Enforcers, so it was on the side of order and trying to help prevent them from taking over. But we got to the last mission, and the last mission was a siege of my precinct headquarters, or the main gate into my precinct headquarters. So we were furiously defending that, and they took down the gates very, very easily. I wasn't super happy with how weak the gates were, but they took them down very easily. They were getting ready to flood in, and we were on the last couple turns of the scenario. It had a limited number of turns, and it was getting desperate. Like, it was just like, they're going to completely overwhelm us. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to stop them. And then I remembered my Palanites still had their flashbangs, or their flashbang equivalents. And so I ran on top of the gate, because the gate had a big walkway on top. Ran a couple of my guys up there, and a couple of the Chaos Spawn had stopped in the middle of the gate because the other players had stopped them there, and they killed the other players, but they had done moving, so they weren't going to move anymore. So I threw down the grenades right at their feet and detonated them. So and they failed. So what that did is it caused them to not be able to activate the next turn. So they were basically stun locked in the gateway. And so we were able to cause these two Chaos Spawn to become stun locked in the gateway, preventing the rest of the Chaos guys from coming in to the precinct and overwhelm us right on the last turn. And because we were able to prevent them from getting in and doing anything inside of the gatehouse on the last turn, we ended up winning because we kept them out. It was fantastic. It was awesome. Like, if those grenades hadn't gone off, there's no way we wouldn't have survived. Like, it would have been over. It would have been so over. Yeah, so like Necromunda is amazing and wonderful for those types of narrative moments. And is really, really good for that. Okay, so we've got the holster done. Now we need to work on the rifle. And as you may notice, the rifle was not glued in because I wanted to be able to paint that separately. But first, before we do any painting on, or before we take it off to paint separately, I want to map out where highlights are going to be on the arms, on the hands of this guy. Because again, I don't visualize terribly well, so I need to work out where a lot of this stuff is through sketching, and then just putting the highlights down in a general place first, and then refining that later. Zumiko on YouTube just did a really good video on sketching and how it's useful, and that's exactly what I do, without necessarily calling it sketching, but that's exactly what I do, because again, I can't see the finished product of the miniature in my head. I don't see the miniature in its finished state very clearly in my head. I can see like a general finished product in my head, but nothing with a lot of specificity, and nothing with a lot of clarity. So what I do is I sketch. So I'll take in my darkest highlight, maybe my middle highlight here, and we'll go in. I'll just have a little bit of paint from a middle highlight, and I'll just generally kind of sketch where I want those main highlights to be, where I think they should be, and see how that reads and see how that goes. Does that look okay? Is that working? Is it not working? If it's not working, what do I need to do to get it to work? Etc. And then I can come in later and do blending and things like that, to get it to look better and to render better. But right now I'm just trying to sketch in where this stuff is, and I think that's a pretty good, for the hands, that's pretty good. Now we're painting this model as if the main direction of view is from this direction. So I want to keep that in mind. From this direction, and then from this direction. Those are the 3 points of view that we're painting the model from, just so that we can keep the light consistent. Is priming then dry brushing a good strategy before painting? It's not a bad strategy. There's nothing wrong with it. Priming and then dry brushing is a good way to kind of highlight where all the different details are. Because sometimes if you prime black or white, it can be difficult to see the details because they're not really defined very well, when they're all black or they're all white. So dry brushing them helps you see the details so that you know where they are, where they stop, where they begin, things like that. And then the dry brushing is a really easy way to do that, especially if you don't have something like an airbrush, which a lot of people don't. Most people don't. So that's a great way to do it. You could also do something like have a white, like a black rattle can, like a black spray paint or primer, and then take like a gray spray paint and spritz it from the top, and that'll be like zenithal highlighting, but with a spray can instead of an airbrush. That's another way to do it. But dry brushing is a great way to do it. Very, very achievable. Jim Raynor, yes indeed, this is indeed Jim Raynor from the new Starcraft miniatures game. So we're painting him up right now. And then we've got Kerrigan afterwards. So Kerrigan will probably be in the next little while. I really need to look at a lot more reference material for her colors, because I want to paint her in the StarCraft 2 colors. Just like oops, it just punched my microphone. Let's see. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. There are no stupid questions. There are no silly questions. Feel free to ask, and I will answer if I am able to. No promises on me being able to, however. Okay, so all the art shows his gun as being primarily black as well, and we already have a recipe for that. But I want to take a look at a couple. Sniper. I want to take a look at some more reference materials here to make sure I'm not missing any kind of nuance from the official stuff or anything like that. Still got to do the freehand of his of that symbol on his shoulder. So don't let me forget that. We're not going to forget that. That is important. Yeah, it's mostly. It's almost a warm. No, it's the same. Generally the same grays for most of these, or the same black. Okay, so we can do that. That's super easy. I had no idea this was a thing. Which company is making them? Archon Studios. They're the guys who made Dungeons and Lasers, and all of those model kits. They're also the ones that are making all the Trench Crusade plastic kits. So it seems like they are doing a good job of starting to do a lot of production for a couple different companies. But Archon Studios is they have the IP, the StarCraft IP. So they've got their this is their game, the game that they're responsible for primarily. Yeah, it seems pretty cool. I don't know if I'll actually play the game, but I saw the minis and like, I need to play Terrans. I need to paint Terrans. Especially Jim Raynor, and then of course Kerrigan, because like it's Kerrigan. Of course I have to paint Kerrigan. I have to paint one of my childhood crushes. Are you kidding me? Sorry, I'm trying to lock in here a little bit and get the angle right for blocking in some of this stuff, because these areas would reflect light in a specific direction and a specific shape. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting that blocked in before we do any kind of refining here. So there's a lot of mechanical detail that's going to need some specific refining, some specific attention here and there. Okay. What sneeze and 2 hours down the drain? Yeah, right? Nah, that's just working, man. That's just fixing mistakes. Nothing wrong with that. Fixing mistakes is a natural part of painting. You gotta learn how to fix mistakes. If you make a mistake, you gotta know that it's recoverable. Be confident in that. And yeah, it might eat up a little bit more time. That's okay. That's okay. I would rather it eat up a little bit more time than ever make a mistake, because making mistakes helps me understand what I'm doing rather than just, you know, being good at it. I don't want to just be good at it. I want to understand, why does this work? I want to understand the why. Why does painting something like this way make it look reflective versus non-reflective? Why does that work? What are the things that are creating the optical illusion? Why does my eye do this? I find that fascinating. And I'm weird for it, I know. I get it. That's okay. I'm okay with being weird. I've been weird all my life. Not being weird would be strange. Not being weird would be very disconcerting. I don't know what I would do. I don't even know what not being weird is like. It doesn't make any sense. But also, you get older, and being weird is like, you want that. It means you're a little different. It's okay. I'm not like the other girls, right? Are you winning, son? I'm obviously I'm painting Jim Raynor. I am winning. I'm winning all over the place. Look at this. I'm painting this strapping young man, and then I'm going to be painting Kerrigan when I'm done with him. So we're gonna be painting the two coolest people in Starcraft, in my opinion, because the Protoss are lame. Ooh, hydrate, thank you. The Protoss are losers. I'm kidding. I've just never been a big fan of the Protoss. They are important for the story. They do have cool elements to them, but I've just never been a fan. They've never interested me. And that's okay. So I was kind of sad that the exclusive, like, preview model was Zerdul, which, I mean, on one hand is pretty cool because he's a Dark Zealot, and that's pretty sweet. But it's also like, it's a Protoss. Gross. Do something cool like a fire bat, because they don't have fire bats in this yet. That's very upsetting to me. Like, when I heard that there was a Starcraft miniatures game, I was like, I want to paint Kerrigan, I want to paint Jim Raynor, and I want to paint a fire bat. I want to put the fire bat burning Zerglings with a flame effect, like a light source of him being lit up by the flames while he's burning these Zerglings. Nope, there's no firebat models yet. And so I'm sitting here having to paint just Jim and Kerrigan, and I'll paint some Terran Marines, and I'll paint Marauders, and I'll paint the medics because I want to, but I don't get to paint my firebats, which was the main thing I wanted to paint. Why don't I get my firebats? But apparently in StarCraft 2, if I remember correctly, which I probably don't, firebats weren't in the main campaign. They were not a common model or common unit, which I think is stupid, because firebats were the coolest model in all of StarCraft 1. IMO. And I know that's a limited opinion. Did my Easter eggs go crazy this year? I didn't do Easter eggs. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have anything like that. So I did not go crazy on Easter eggs. If I did, maybe they would have. That would have been pretty sweet. Although I did see some pretty cool Balkan style Easter eggs or Balkan style eggs, where they take the eggs and they put leaves over them to get like the leaf pattern, just on the shell, and then they boil the eggs in water that's full of onion skins, so they turn really, really dark brown as they hard boil, and then you take the leaves off, and it leaves an outline of the leaf in white on it. It is really, really cool. Marauders replace them. Well, that's dumb, because Marauders are dumb and Firebats are cooler. That's my opinion, and my opinion is correct. I'm just kidding. Like, I so looked forward to Firebats, and if Marauders replace them, then I'm sure I can still do what I want to do with the Marauders. It's not the same, man. It's not the same. What paintbrush do I use? I use several different paintbrushes. Right now I'm using Pro Acryl Pro Sable. This is a number 2. And you can see it's got a nice sharp tip, and it's been holding up pretty good. This is a new one that I just broke out. I just opened the package on it, so yeah, they're pretty darn solid. Now I also use Rosemary and Co brushes. I also use Game Envy sable brushes. I have Zim sable brushes. I have Raphael sables, 8404s. I have a whole bunch of different brushes that I keep in rotation. So these are not the only brushes that I use. I have a rotation of brushes. I've got Artist Opus. I like to rotate between several different brands. That way I'm still familiar with them. So when people ask like my opinion on brushes, then I can give a good opinion on brushes, because I've used a lot of them. And generally when people are asking if I've used a brand of brush, oftentimes the answer is yes. I have not yet used Golden Maple or some of the other small ones. Like I haven't used those yet. I do want to try them out. I just haven't picked any up. Have you seen that episode of SpongeBob where he sees a single nose hair painting? Yeah, and with there are people that do that. Now they won't do that with acrylic paints, because acrylics dry out too quickly. But if they're using solvent-based paints, then that can work. The single hair applicators can work with like solvent-based that take a little bit longer to dry. But acrylics dry so very, very fast that the single hair won't work with a standard acrylic. What is it with a sable fur that works well for miniatures? Okay, are you sure you want to know the answer to this? Because it's kind of weird. Hey, have a good night. Generally trying to better my skill, even though I've been painting for 20 years. No, I totally understand that. I've been painting for 26 years, since I was about 15. 14, 15. And it was only in 2018 that I started trying to become better and better and better. So I totally understand it. Don't feel like you're starting from behind or anything like that. It's all good. There's never a bad time to start working on trying to improve. Now, the things about sables is they have pretty good snap, so they snap back into their brush shape really well, and that has to do with not just the physical structure of the hairs, but also how they're put in the bristle. Sable hairs, weasel hairs, because the sable is a type of weasel, they are a little stiffer, so they've got good snap. And then these particular hairs are taken from their butts. So they're slightly different for hygienic purposes. They are slightly scaled, so the water and moisture wicks off of them easier for hygienic purposes. And so those hairs are really good for getting water-based paints, especially water-based paints, to flow. So generally, Kolinsky sable brushes are made from the sable butt hairs. Now, not all, I don't think all sable brushes are made from those particular hairs. And a Kolinsky sable is a certain breed of sable. So if something says it's sable, it might be red sable, it might just be a generic sable. Those brushes are still decent, but they're not the same as Kolinsky sables. Kolinsky sables feel different than those. Yes, this is a number 2. This is number 2, and keep in mind that the numbering systems are not the same across manufacturers. So this is a Raphael 8404. This is a number 1, and it's bigger than Mont Pro Acryl's number 2. So the numbers give you a general idea, but they're not going to give you anything that's standardized. And if you want to order any of these, you can. I have a 5% off discount code in my Linktree. If anybody wants to order anything from Monument, that's why I wanted to give you other options as well. I'm not just trying to push just one, but you can get 5% off any Monument order by using the discount code USELESS. And it doesn't cost you anything extra. Let me make sure that I'm recalling that correctly. Yeah, Useless Wizard. Sorry. Wait. Oh, come on. I want to make sure I give you the right one. If you want it. But I also, if I put it in my Linktree, or if it's been changed since I updated my Linktree last, I need to fix that anyway. Yeah, coupon code is useless, or the coupon code is useless, or you can use the referral link in my Linktree to get the 5% off as well. So either one, coupon code or the referral link. Both of them work. Both of them will get you 5% off. And get me a small kickback. Small teeny kickback. I'm a new painter and I'm painting the Astra Militarum. Do you have any tips? Everything feels minute. Yeah, so yeah, everything is gonna feel really minute. Then that makes sense. So my main for painting really small stuff and getting used to that, my main endorsement, or my main piece of word of encouragement is paint often. To paint often, don't paint rarely for a long time. So what I mean by that is paint for like 15-30 minutes a day if you can, or every other day. You will develop faster as a painter if you do that than if you were to paint for 6 to 8 hours on a Saturday or a weekend. The reason for that is because painting is not physically intense, but it is physical, and you have to you have to develop muscle control and hand-eye coordination. And just like any kind of physical skill, like playing an instrument or running a marathon or anything like that, this is nowhere near as intense as that, obviously. But anything like that, you're not going to try and learn your music piece and learn all your fingering on your guitar or your violin or anything like that the day before your recital, right? You're going to work every day and you're going to improve it every day. If you're running a marathon, you're going to run a couple times a week, if not every day, for a couple of miles, so that your body develops its muscles and develops its coordination over time. The body is used to developing that way, and it helps it lock in. If you work on something and then let your body recover, your body's recovery process is part of your body learning about what you're doing and adjusting to that. So paint a little bit every day if you can. Even if it's for 15 minutes, even if it's for 5 minutes, paint a little bit every day, because not only are you developing your muscle memory, you're also developing a habit. Because habit gets stuff painted. If you've got a habit of, okay, every day before I go to bed, after, my significant other goes to bed or while they're taking a shower, I sit down, I paint for 15 minutes, and then I'm ready for bed. Or I paint and then I'm ready to read and then go to bed. You develop a habit, and that habit will help you develop as a painter fast, but it will also help you complete projects in a reasonable amount of time, because you're making a habit to complete projects, right? To work on those projects. So my biggest tip, and the thing that I wish I had done so much sooner, is paint often. Feel free to watch videos and stuff like that. But if you watch a YouTube video on like a technique and stuff, don't let that take the place of you painting that day. Okay? Watching a video may feel like you've done some hobby, or you may feel like I learned something new. No, you didn't. You got a new concept, but until you paint with it, until you try to apply it, you haven't learned anything really applicable. So paint every day. Try that new concept, or just paint. Don't let watching videos and things like that take the place in your mind of actually sitting down and doing some work. That's something that I struggled with for years and years and years, of like, I watched a video from Miniac on how to do this. That was a really cool idea. Now I understand more about color theory. And then I just didn't do anything with it. I didn't sit down and actually do anything with it, and it just sat there. But I felt like I had improved. I felt like I'd become a better painter, because now I know this new thing. But I wasn't actually developing as a painter, because I wasn't applying it, and I wasn't developing my muscles anymore. I wasn't continuing to develop my coordination. So then when I sat down and tried to paint, thinking with all this feeling of like, I'm a good painter, I watched all these videos, I couldn't do it. I couldn't actually execute on what was in my head. And that was very frustrating. And then I realized my mistake. I'm like, I should actually paint. So when people ask for general tips, actually paint. Actually paint a little bit every day, if you can. You will quickly eclipse people like me that got started a little bit later, or if you can out develop me, you will quickly eclipse me. Or you'll just get stuff done. That's good. Get shit done. Any brush recommendations, particularly ones with very small heads. So you do not paint with the smallest brushes. That's going to be counterintuitive too, and I'm going to explain why. You should learn and practice painting with size 1s and higher, in my opinion. because a good size 1, like a Kolinsky Sable size 1, or even just a regular Sable size 1 or higher, will have a tip that you can do tiny freehand with. You can paint eyes with. You just have to maintain that tip. The reason I recommend not going much smaller than that is because of the nature of acrylic paints, especially water-based ones. If the brush doesn't have any belly, i.e. it doesn't have this thicker part of the bristle to store dampness and to store moisture, your paint will dry out very, very quickly, and it can often dry out before you even get to the model. So like size 0s, double 0s, triple 0s, they will often dry out before you're actually able to apply the paint with them, because water evaporates very quickly and the paint will just dry in the bristle because there's no belly there to help keep the paint moisturized or keep it running. So my recommendation is paint with the largest brushes you can, size 1 or higher. Most of my base work is done with a size 6 or a size 4 or a size 5, because I can do all my base coating really quickly with a brush that big. And then all my detail work is done with size 2s, 1s, things like that. And now as far as what types of brushes, 90% or 99% of, or 90% or 95% of my painting is done with synthetics, Golden Taklon synthetic brushes. These are very, very cheap. You can get these at Walmart and Fred Meyer's. Just make sure the bristles are Golden Taklon. Those are my preferred because they're stiff, they're stiffer, and they snap back into a tip easier. They won't last forever, but they're cheap, so that's easy to replace them. For fancier brushes, for like the last 10 to 5% of what I'm painting, I use Kolinsky Sables. And right now I'm using Monument Pro Sables. These are a synthetic sable, so they're not actually like animal product. Some people like those, some people don't. It depends on the performance. The performance is comparable enough for me that I'm fine with it, but I also have full natural sable brushes as well. Raphael 8404s, Zim Series 3200s, Rosemary & Co. Series 33s. Let's see. Game Envy Phalanx. All of those are good Kolinsky Sables. And the Game Envy ones and the Pro Acryl ones are pretty reasonably priced, whereas the Raphael 8404s are like $25 to $30. The Rosemary & Co's, if you can get them in the US, they're closer to $15 to $20. The Monument and the Game Envy ones are between $10 and $15 generally. So let's see, you do Alpha Legion. Oh, I haven't done Alpha Legion yet. Oh, we had an ad break. Shoot. All right, we're gonna hold here. I'm gonna drink some water. So I don't want the people that are caught in the ads to miss out on anything else. Spudzer, thank you for this 3-stream streak. I hope you're doing well. I saw you interacting with the chat earlier. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. FNZ, yeah, experiment, mess up, reprime, rinse, repeat. Yep, 100%. Let's see. I've been buying packs of brushes from Walmart. Yeah, 100%. Do you ever cut a brush head that gets misshapen over time? Sometimes. If there's hairs that stick out to the sides, yeah, I'll trim those. Never pull them. Never ever pull hairs out. Always trim them off with like an X-Acto blade or a scissor, because you want that you still want the base of that hair to be bound up in the glue down in here. That way it doesn't loosen the glue, because if you pull it, it can tear the glue and then the rest of the hairs can start shedding. So never ever pull hairs out. Always cut them. But generally, if it starts splaying out a whole lot, like this is starting to splay out, it's starting to lose its tip. This is still good for this is still very good for base coating and basic highlighting. But if this started like getting really like this, cutting this is not going to help. Trimming that isn't going to help. All it's going to do is shorten the bristles, but they're not going to go back into that shape properly. Let's see. What about highlighting? Normally people say highlight the parts that stick out. Astro doesn't. So the reason people say highlight the parts that stick out is because those are the parts that are going to catch light from above. Let's see. One of the ways that I suggest people look at what they need to highlight is prime your model black. So here's an example. Prime it black, and then stick it underneath a light from directly above. Get one of my desk lamps over here. Stick it out a light from directly above. Take a photo of that. Okay? And everywhere that is illuminated by the lamp, that's where your midtone or your highlight should be. And the higher up on the model, the more pointed towards the lamp it is, like over here, the top up here, the top of the hair up here, that should be your highest highlights. Now, if I could, I'd have it straight up and down, but my lamp doesn't go all the way over like that. So, stick it underneath a lamp, have the lamp shoot straight down, and then take a picture of it. Okay, take a picture of it, and that gives you an idea of where the highlights are going to be. That will work with this Astra Militarum as well. Because what you're doing with highlighting is you are creating the optical illusion of light hitting that surface and reflected into your eyes. So it is all about where would light reflect off of this and bounce into my face. That is literally what we're doing when we're highlighting. Now, because these models are so small that light doesn't reflect off of them normally, we have to artificially create that optical illusion through our highlighting and through our shading. The models are not big enough to reflect enough light to naturally bounce it into our eyes so it looks real. We have to fake our eyes out in order for the model to look real. Like, all of this is paint. All of these reflections, all of these highlights are paint, right? But it looks kind of realistic. It's because I'm practicing where would light bounce off of. I look at a lot of different things. I look at a lot of surfaces now when I'm walking around or driving. You'll see me staring at something, and if I'm staring at something, then it's probably I'm trying to figure out what's causing the light to bounce off of that in that particular way, and is that applicable to something I'm working on, or do I have something that I could use that on? Or it's just like a really hot person. Like, I'll be honest, it could be that too. But generally, I'm staring at stuff as like, why is the light bouncing off like that? I'm trying to understand it so I can paint better. What about highlighting? Normally, people say highlighting, Yeah, just answer that question, Fitzella. Same with edge highlighting for Tau battlesuits. Yeah, and the edge highlighting, that is not only creating that optical illusion of light bouncing off, but it's also helping the human eye like read the details and see what's different and about that particular shape. What is? Oh, that's a panel. Okay, see. Here's an example. There's a detail here. There's a little hand guard or handle panel that was the same black as everything else, and because it was the same black, I didn't see it. I was just like, I saw something there. I was like, what is this? Is that a mold line I didn't check and clean up? No, it's a full-on It's a full-on bit of detail. So now I get to go in and I get to highlight that. And so that other people that are looking at it won't go through the same confusion I did. Like, oh, look. There's something there. As opposed to just leaving it be. And being confused like I was. Did that answer your question, Fitzilla? With the highlighting, holding your miniature underneath a light to get an idea of where the highlights would happen? Because it's not just areas that stick around, it's areas that would be illuminated by the sun or by whatever light source they're underneath. So it's not just areas that stick out, it's areas that would be exposed to the sun. I hope that's helpful. But areas that stick out is a good rule of thumb, because those will generally be highlighted by, like, illuminated by the sun. But strictly speaking, we're talking about areas that are illuminated. Still waiting for my boxes to ship? Oh, yeah. Apparently people are going to be waiting for a little bit longer. I was fortunate enough to be at Adepticon where they were selling it. So instead of ordering the boxes, I picked them up at Adepticon. I was hoping they would sell them there. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to actually buy them. I knew I wanted Jim and Kerrigan. I was kind of hoping there would be a way for me to just get Jim and Kerrigan. But then I saw the boxes and I saw that like these are the only two HQ models that are in there. It's like, yeah, no one's gonna sell just Jim and just Kerrigan by themselves, without the other stuff in the boxes. They do have independent boxes of Jim and Kerrigan, but they're still $45 and they come with another model each. So I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna buy the whole thing. So I still want to paint the medics, and I still want to paint the Marauders and the other Terran stuff, and eventually I'll probably paint the Zerg, other than Kerrigan. So Kerrigan's absolutely getting painted. My queen must be painted. Oh man. If I really wanted to go super deep into the bit about like Kerrigan being my queen, I would totally rock a fedora the entire time I was painting her and say, "M'lady." That would be incredibly funny, but also thoroughly upsetting to me personally. Time to paint my queen. Oh. Is it a bad time to admit that I have like a wall painting of Kerrigan that's like 2 feet wide and 18 inches tall? I know that because I had to buy a frame for it. Is it bad that is now a bad time to admit that I have that? I keep dragging Jim out of the camera view. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try and do better to keep him in view. That's better. Oh yeah, Jim's looking mighty good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm having a good time painting him up, especially since it's giving me a good chance to practice painting black armor Painting black and painting white are difficult colors to paint. Because both of them can very easily turn gray and just read as gray, which is obviously not what we're after. So anything I can do to help practice and improve that, my ability to paint that is welcome. Faces are the worst for me. Faces are the worst for a lot of people, and I still struggle with faces. I'm getting better. I'm actually fairly okay with his face, except for the spot in between his brow, like his right here. Like, see on me, I've got the shadow on either side of my brows, but there's still like a piece of skin here that puffs up a little bit. And that's missing on him. So I need to go back in with my brighter skin tones right there and brighten that up just a teeny bit. Now once that dries, it won't be as intense. That's better. It's pretty damn good by my standards. I appreciate that. You know, it's still working on it being better and better and better. Just gotta keep working at it. But I very much appreciate it. Okay, gun is gunning. Gun looks very gun-like. I do want to pick out a couple things as like full-on steel, like the bolt here. I do want to break this up just a little bit to have some other colors in here. Let's see. There's some areas that I want to clean up as well. A little bit better. And let's go in with this on the bolt. Want that to read on the top half of the bolt, not right down the middle, because the light would hit it from the top. Go. We're gonna let that dry. What you work on, Fesmo? We are working on Jim Raynor from Starcraft. This is a miniature from the new Starcraft miniatures game. And we're painting Jim Raynor right now. It's one of the main heroes of the game. I don't know if you've ever played it, but he's one of the main protagonists. And then we've got Kerrigan, the Queen of Blades, as the other main protagonist. And she is the queen of the Zerg, and we'll be painting her in the future. Very soon after this. No, I wasn't able to get into the PC games, but the game looks good. Oh, the heads, he's looking good. Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I totally get it. Yeah, PC games, that was because I didn't have a console for most of growing up because we didn't have a TV growing up. So single player PC games was kind of my thing. That's what I ended up doing. I almost never played online growing up. So Starcraft, Command and Conquer, Warcraft, all those single player games, those were the games of my childhood. Now, of course, a lot of them had online components, but this was before the internet was before there was a lot of really easy to use services to play. Like there weren't, for instance, Warcraft 2, the original strategy game called Warcraft 2, it didn't have a lobby system. So the only way that you could play against somebody else is if you all pointed your modems at each other, and you could play that way. Oh, we're gonna noise range yourself. Very nice. I have a what is it called? Spearhead? No. I've got Emperor's Children, Starter, Emperor's Children, Noise Marines, and Fulgrim over here. So I do want to paint them up eventually. I've liked their models quite a bit. I don't actually play most of the games, so I doubt I'll ever actually play anything with them, but I want to paint them because they're pretty. Any advice on a color to darken down steel? Used a true metallic metal, silver on sword, but want a bit darker effect towards the hilt of the sword. Thinking about cobalt metal from AP Fanatics. I don't know what cobalt metal looks like. You could do a couple different things. You could use a wash, either a black or a blue wash, and glaze that over the areas where you want it to be darker. That's one option. Another option is to use a darker metal. So if you've got a darker metal, great, you could use something like that. You could also take that metal and add a little bit of you could add a little bit of dark blue or a little bit of dark gray or even black to it to darken it down, and it will be duller, but it's in shadow, so maybe it's not reflecting as much light as it is. But Nuln Oil, yeah, like Bocce says, Nuln Oil, you could absolutely use Nuln Oil to do that and just glaze that down as a glaze. You could also just create a glaze with dark blue paint or black or something like that, and just keep it very transparent and paint that over it. Yeah, the cobalt metal, as long as the cobalt metal is a darker color than the normal blue, and I would recommend it be a more desaturated blue, so not a vibrant blue. Both of those would work. If you were to do the steel and then vibrant blue, it would end up looking more like a magical sword or a power sword than something in steel or something in shadow. Okay, I'm liking where all the highlights are for the most part. I'm feeling like there's stuff missing from the gun. Like the gun just looks kind of boring. So there's a couple ways that I could fix that. I could pick out a few more spots on the gun to make them regular steel. Why is that website down? That's stupid. Don't do that. What did they do? Yeah, they chose a couple spots. Okay, so the way they did it was definitely different than the way I did it. Let's take a look at the screen. So this is what they did here. Oh, I need to hide that. Let's hide this text real quick. So they did the barrel and the bipod is steel, the clip assembly is steel, the bolt is obviously steel, and then they did the upper portion as steel. So I could grab a couple of these and add that in just to have. There needs to be more. There needs to be more visual difference here. Man, look at how well they painted his face. My God. They went dark brown with him. I went black. They went a really dark brown with him. I thought he had black hair, not dark brown hair. Okay, whatever. They didn't do the freehand, though. Yeah, maybe that's why he's not quite looking like Jim Raynor to me. I got his skin's too pale, and his hair's the wrong color. Damn it. Oh well. Oh well. So we're going to choose a couple spots on our Jim Raynor to do as metallic, and just choose a couple spots here. So these attachment points back here are steel in the reference photo. So we'll hit them with this blue black. And then they did this entire upper assembly. I don't really want to do the entire assembly because I'm being lazy. But we can certainly do the scope and then the little laser sight thing on the side. But the shroud will still be black. But the rest of the scope we'll do is steel. See, all the work that I did is now being undone, and I'm not upset about it. Because I am making a creative decision, or a decision to stay a little bit more true to the artwork, the source material. But also this is a good idea because all of this black is absolutely going to blend into the rest of this, and it's going to be hard to distinguish. So if I can choose a couple spots out here to differentiate between the gun and the rest of the model, visually differentiate, that will help everything read a little bit better, read a little bit clearer. So we're going to do our initial highlight for these loops here, and then we'll come in here with our initial mix of gray blue, darkened down a little bit. It's a darkened down gray blue, it's not raw gray blue. We're going to hit most of these areas, leaving a little bit of shadow. Boop. There we go. And then we'll do the same thing for back here. Not as neat because not as many people are going to be looking back here, so it doesn't have to be quite as neat and tidy. We're going to let that dry, then we'll come in with our blue-gray right in the middle of that, in line with the other highlights. So I'm keeping this in line with the other black highlights that we already had there. Trying to keep this in line with that as much as possible, because even though this is going to be more intense and more reflective, it's still going to reflect in the same kind of pattern as the reflections on the black. So I keep getting completely out of frame. I'm sorry. There is an alert to let me know that it's out of frame. There's something you can trigger on the Purple app to let me know. But I'm trying to be more and more conscious of it, so I do apologize for that. There we go. It's a little bit bright. It's a little bit brighter. That's great. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. He's been very, very enjoyable to paint. Now, the difference between these metal areas and the other areas of the black armor that we didn't paint to be super metallic or super reflective is the brightness of the highlight. So these bare metal sections will have a much brighter highlight than the areas of the black highlighting, because the black highlight's just kind of slightly shiny paint, right? These are actually raw metal reflecting whatever sun or main light source is above Jim right now. And so we need to make sure that that is bright, because that helps sell the optical illusion of these being metal. Hey, look at that. Look how that brights, or how that contrasts against the rest of the armor. It helps the whole thing read a little bit better. How long have we been doing this figure? This has been a couple streams. I think this is the third stream we've worked on him. Number of hours is probably closing in on 10 hours, which is a lot longer than I was really planning on, but I've really been enjoying working on him. I very much enjoyed working on him, so it doesn't seem like it's been 10 hours, but it's probably been a good 10 hours. Which color do I want to use? If anybody has any questions or any other questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer questions, or if I need to demo something, I'm happy to do that. I stream to answer questions and to help people improve in their hobby. That's why I'm here. It's why I like to stream. I want to help. I think I need a darker blue to start this out, honestly. Give me a second. Not that. There we go. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to paint the lens on the front of the sniper rifle. And then also there's a diode here on the reference material that's kind of a glowy blue. We're gonna hit both of those. And to make things, I don't want to make things like super glowy, but to make things look kind of glowy, you do need to start with a dark color and make sure that dark color is pretty preserved around the thing. Even lenses and things like that. Should be pretty preserved because a lens is also a reflective surface, so you want that reflection to be visible even from the sides, things like that. So you want that there. So we've got some dark blue right in there in the cowl for the or the shroud for the gun, and then right here I'm just going to decide that's kind of the diode. Yeah, there's a little diode right there, and they made that diode kind of glow a little bit, so we might look at that. We might look at doing something like that a little bit. Now the next thing is getting some lighter blue right in here, kind of in line with the rest of the reflections, because again this is also reflective, a reflective surface, so that's going to show up. It needs to show up here on the side, in line with the other reflections, like on the armor. So it's starting to show a little bit, but we'll keep pumping up the brightness. Now this diode, I'm gonna go blue over that, and then we're going to leave a dark spot around the diode and just hit this blue around that, because I want that cast shadow to be there. That will help the whole thing read as like a light source. We've got a shadow immediately around the light source, and then it comes out and the light starts bouncing off of things on the outside of that shadow. That will help it to read as an actual light source. And let's see, screen share. Show you kind of what I'm looking at, or kind of why I'm going with that. You see right here, I can't, there we go. Right here, how this is lit up. So we've got our brightest light in the middle. We're still working up to this, but immediately around it, there is a shadow immediately. And then the edges are what's picking up the light. So these bolts are picking up light. The edges of the little indentation that this is in are catching light, but immediately around the highlight, or immediately around the light, there's shadow. That helps the eye read that as a light source, because it's not casting light on the surface, it's casting light on the areas that are raised around it. Now there are other light sources that you know, if it was like a torch, or if it was, you know, something like that hey Spudzer, how are you doing, man? Oh, hey Michael Payne Middies, how are you doing? Good to see you. So we're just trying to replicate that. Trying to get that to both of these to to read as either reflecting light or emitting light. So. Doing well, thank you very much. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Always happy to hear that. Now this is a very soft light, so there should be some really rapid fall off. So the edges are only going to have a tiny bit of the brightest, and I should have kept some of the medium blue off in the corners. I'm gonna get some of that medium blue back in here. One thing I'm not super happy with. Let's just try to fix this. Lost part of the dark outline up top. So now that I've got that reestablished, I also lost a little bit of the bright glowy bit. Come back in. Boom. There we go. So that's definitely helping him read separately from the rest of the armor a lot better. I wish I had enough moolah to buy into this one. He's coming together so well. Hey, thank you so much. I shall admire your work, and that will sate my need for Starcraft minis. I totally get it. Yeah, man. I definitely don't regret buying this, but this was definitely the first thing I picked up at Adepticon. I saw it and was like, oh no, they have it here. Crap. Alright, gimme. Because, I mean, I needed to paint Raynor, and I needed to paint Kerrigan. So badly. So badly. Now, I think this looks kind of like it's glowing. I don't need it to look perfect at all. I think it's kind of like it's glowing. What do you guys think it's missing? I think it's missing a bright spot up top. Oh, come on. Apply paint right there. There we go. Still don't know if it's reading purely as glowing, but it could also just be because I painted it, so it doesn't quite look right to me. Bright spot, and you might be able to softly darken around it, the lit area, so the higher value contrast. Yeah. It's what I wanted to do with the corners a bit. I think I went to medium blue. We go a darker blue in these corners, farthest away. And then what I could do instead is these farther corners. I could do gray as the in there, or this square. I think that looks a little bit better. I think you were right. Still think I need... Yeah, I think that's close enough for me. That's close enough for me. I don't need it to look hyper realistic. I'm not doing box art, right? We're not doing the box art. Let's see. I do want this, the bottom of this handle to be steel, so that it stands out and doesn't blend into the armor. It's at this point, it's more about keeping things from visually blending into one another than it is about anything else. Because the gun is so black and the armor is so black that it's hard to distinguish between one and the other. So I want to have some more differentiation. Being happy with a piece is a beautiful thing. Yeah, I mean, eventually you just kind of have to be like, you know what? This is as far as I can take it. This is as far as I'm willing to take it. But we're almost there. We're so close. We're so close. Yeah. Oh, he looks so good! He looks so cool! Oh, I love this. I do wish that I had paid more attention to like what color Jim Raynor's hair actually is and what skin tone he actually has, because I definitely made his skin tone too pink and his hair is too black because he's actually dark brown hair and kind of like dusky skin tone. I made him a little too Caucasian, or actually way too Caucasian. But we're just going with it. We're going with it. If he looks emo, then that's fine. He's sad because he doesn't have Kerrigan. He's got 30 Seconds to Mars and Fall Out Boy blasting in his eardrums. That's what's happening. Or I'm just lucky, he's just happy I didn't put like eyeliner on him or anything like that. He's just had his sun visor down for too long. See, there you go. See, yeah, exactly. He's just been sheltering, moping in the corner, being all moody. Doesn't look great. If I do an Instagram reel of him, it's absolutely going to be 30 Seconds to Mars. Too much Lost Vikings. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You understand. Oh, I think he looks awesome. I'm pretty darn happy with him. So we've got him from this angle, with all the highlights done on this angle. And then we've got him from this angle. Everything painted there. And then we did this angle. Those are the three angles that we painted Jim from, so he would look good on those angles. So now, next stream, we got to do his base, and I don't know if I'm gonna glue his rifle in. I don't think I'm gonna bother gluing his rifle in. It's actually friction fit really well and won't pop off easily. But then we'll paint his base, we'll get him on his base, and then he'll be done. And then we can move on to Kerrigan, or we can move on to an intermediate project, because I've got lots of stuff that I picked up at Adepticon that I want to pay a bit of attention to. So many things. So many things. Okay, where are we? Where are we with time? Alright, yeah, we're gonna call it tonight. Thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. I very much appreciate it. Appreciate you all being here. I hope you enjoyed watching him. Oh, we still got to do his freehand, so that will be next. We still got to do his freehand. That'll be next stream on Friday. So we're gonna do his the freehand on his armor, and then we'll work on his base on Friday. Hopefully, have him done by the end of stream then, and then we can move on to something else. But thank you all so much for being here tonight. I very much appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your night. We'll see you on Friday. Don't forget, Friday is going to be Community Showcase. So if you have something you have been working on, either work in progress or something you've finished that you haven't shown off to the community, hop in my Discord through the LinkedIn in my profile or my About page. Hop into the Discord. We've got channels for both works in progress and for finished projects. We also have channels for the 2 games that I'm working on. We've got general discussion. We've got questions. We've got video resources, like for videos that people have found that have been helpful to them to learn about painting and color theory and that kind of stuff. There's also a feedback area where you can ask people for feedback. So hop into there. Love to have you. And we're going to go find someone to raid over here. And I've been trying to post on TikTok once a day. We're going to keep working on that. We're going to keep trying to make sure that is consistent. So there's a lot to learn there. Uh-oh.
Let's go say hi to the wizard.
No! Don't do it! I'm leaving! I'm ending stream! Ghoul, no!
The most useful wizard around town. Alright, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the conversations today. Thank you for the follows, the subs, the raids. You are all absolutely wonderful. And between now and next Thursday at 7 p.m. when I stream next.
Oh my god, he's gonna raid in.
To hang out with the ghouls, show us your art, ask questions, do all that.
He's raiding, yeah.
Here's the links. The top one, yeah, the top one there is the Discord. Go ahead and join up.
All right, we're gonna have to wait.
Love to have you.
We're gonna have to wait. No, we're not running away. I'm not torpedoing him like that. I am gonna end the YouTube. And we are going to end the TikTok. Have a wonderful night, everyone. As soon as Ghoul comes in, we're gonna